Most people think building wealth starts with earning more money. It doesn't. There are people earning six figures who live paycheck to paycheck. And there are people on average incomes who quietly build impressive savings over time. The difference usually isn't income. It's behavior. Money has a strange way of magnifying your habits. Good habits make every pay rise more valuable. Bad habits make every pay rise disappear. That's why some people spend decades working hard without feeling financially ahead, while others seem to gain more control over their money every single year. The interesting part is that these people rarely follow complicated strategies. They don't spend hours analyzing the stock market. They don't chase every new side hustle. And they certainly don't become wealthy overnight. Instead, they build a handful of habits that almost seem too simple to matter. But over years, those small habits completely change their financial future. And in this video, we're going to look at 9 money habits that quietly separate people who always feel behind from those who steadily build wealth. None of these habits require a high income. None of them depend on luck. And none of them will make you rich next month. But together, they can completely change the direction of your finances. If you're interested in practical money psychology and timeless investing lessons, consider subscribing. Every week we break down the habits and decisions that help ordinary people build extraordinary financial lives. Let's start with the first habit. It's also the one almost everyone gets backwards. Most people save whatever money's left at the end of the month. Wealthy people decide how much they'll save before the month even begins. It sounds like a tiny difference, but it's the habit that makes every other habit possible. Habit number 1, pay yourself first. Most people treat saving like it's the last bill they'll pay. Rent comes first. Food comes first. Entertainment comes first. Then, if there's anything left, they save it. The problem is there's almost never anything left. Money has a habit of disappearing into places you never planned for. A takeaway here, a subscription there, a few impulse purchases that didn't seem like a big deal. Individually, they're harmless. Together, they quietly consume hundreds every month. That's why one of the simplest money habits is also one of the most effective. The day your pay arrives, move a fixed amount into savings or investments before you spend a single pound. Not what's left over, the amount you decided in advance. When saving becomes automatic, it stops depending on motivation. And that's important. Because motivation disappears, systems don't. Habit number 2, increase your savings every time your income increases. Think about your last pay rise. How long did it take before that extra money became your new normal? For most people, not very long. Lifestyle inflation is incredibly subtle. You don't suddenly start spending twice as much. You just upgrade. A slightly better phone, a slightly nicer holiday, eating out a little more often. None of it feels irresponsible. Until years later when you realize every pay rise disappeared without making you wealthier. Here's a simple rule. Every time your income goes up, increase the amount you save before you increase the amount you spend. Even if it's only 25% of the raise, you still enjoy more money today while making sure your future self benefits too. Habit number 3, make spending slightly inconvenient. Buying something has never been easier. A few taps on your phone and it's on its way. That's wonderful when you actually need something. It's terrible when you're buying because you're bored. Most impulse purchases aren't carefully considered. They're emotional. They're convenient. They're immediate. So instead of relying on willpower, change the environment. Remove your saved card details. Wait 24 hours before buying anything expensive. Leave items sitting in your basket overnight. It sounds almost too simple, but creating even a small amount of friction gives your logical brain time to catch up with your emotional one. And surprisingly often, you'll realize you never really wanted it in the first place. Habit number 4, stop trying to look wealthy. One of the fastest ways to delay building wealth is trying to convince other people you've already built it. A nicer car, designer clothes, the latest phone every year. None of these purchases are automatically bad. The problem begins when they're funded by money that could have been growing for your future instead. Here's something worth remembering. Many genuinely wealthy people don't look wealthy, and many people who look wealthy are financing that appearance with debt. Real wealth is usually invisible. It's the investment account nobody sees. The emergency fund nobody talks about. The money quietly growing while nobody is watching. Habit number 5. Focus on your biggest expenses first. People love arguing about small savings. Should you stop buying coffee? Should you cancel one subscription? Those things can help. But they rarely change your financial future on their own. Instead, look at the decisions that have the biggest impact. Where you live, what you drive, how much debt you're paying interest on. Those 3 areas often determine whether you have hundreds of pounds left each month, or almost nothing. You don't need to live an extreme lifestyle. You just need to make a few high-impact decisions well. Saving 400 pounds on your housing or transport costs every month is far more powerful than trying to save 4 pounds every day in random places. The biggest wins usually come from the biggest expenses. Habit number 6, give every pound a purpose. This doesn't mean tracking every penny you spend. It means knowing where your money is supposed to go before it arrives. Without a plan, money has a habit of disappearing. You get paid. A few purchases here, a weekend away, an online order you barely remember making. Then a few weeks later, you wonder where it all went. People often assume budgeting is restrictive. In reality, it's the opposite. A good budget gives your money direction. It lets you spend on the things that genuinely matter without feeling guilty every time you use your bank card. Because when every pound has a purpose, you're no longer wondering where your money went. You're deciding where it goes. And that simple shift is one of the biggest differences between managing money and mastering it. Habit number 7, invest consistently, not perfectly. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting for the perfect time to invest. They wait for the market to fall, then it falls, and they wait for it to fall further. They wait for interest rates to change, for the next election, for the next headline. Months turn into years. Meanwhile, someone else simply invests a fixed amount every month into a diversified, low-cost index fund and gets on with their life. They don't know what the market will do next week. Neither does anyone else. What they do know is that time has historically been one of the most powerful advantages an investor can have. Trying to predict the perfect moment often means missing years of progress. Consistency usually beats perfect timing. Habit number 8, protect your future before you upgrade your lifestyle. When more money starts coming in, it's tempting to celebrate by spending more. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying your success. The key is making sure your future benefits first. Before upgrading your car, upgrade your emergency fund. Before booking the luxury holiday, increase your investments. Before moving into a more expensive home, ask yourself whether the higher monthly payment is buying happiness or simply a bigger obligation. Every financial decision has a hidden cost. The money you spend today is also money that can't grow for tomorrow. That doesn't mean never treating yourself. It means making those decisions consciously instead of automatically. Habit number 9, measure progress by your net worth, not your income. People love talking about salary, but income tells only half the story. Imagine 2 people earning 80,000 pounds a year. One spends almost everything they make. The other consistently saves, invests, and keeps their debt under control. From the outside, their lives may look similar. 10 years later, they're likely in completely different financial positions. That's because wealth isn't measured by what comes into your bank account. It's measured by what stays there. Your income pays the bills. Your net worth builds your future. And that's the number worth paying attention to. At the end of the day, building wealth isn't about finding one magical trick. It's about making dozens of ordinary decisions a little better than you did yesterday. Saving before spending. Avoiding lifestyle inflation. investing consistently, spending intentionally. None of these habits are exciting on their own. In fact, they're often quite boring. But that's exactly the point. Wealth is rarely built through dramatic moments. It's built through ordinary decisions repeated for years. Because the people who become financially successful aren't usually the ones making the biggest moves. They're the ones making the right small moves again and again and again.